Mr. Secretary, good to see you again. This is Ash Carter. How are you?
Hi, Ash. How are you?
Good. Can I take you back to China? And we don't have to call it a war
Sure.
if you don't want to. But it is not a Cold War either, because we had an ideological competition with a communist dictatorship before, which was the Soviet Union, but we never traded with it. And so we are in a more complicated situation. And you were talking earlier, it seemed to me, about the entire playbook for protecting our companies and our friends from what is a country that can bring to bear on competition military, economic, and political tools altogether, which a country like ours obviously can't do. And so we do look to our government to protect our companies from that. And tariffs are obviously a piece of that. But can you go back to your very first remarks? You were talking about, if you like, what was the entire table of contents of our new playbook for protecting ourselves and competing fairly, or at least on some even kind of playing field with China.
The content is a very simple one. It's America first, but it's not America alone. We actually have gotten more cooperation from our allies, particularly vis-a-vis China, since we've been using tariffs than we ever had before. On multiple occasions now, both the EU and Japan have been co-signatories with us on letters attacking various practices used by China. That never happened before. And I think what it proves is that when you put things in stark reality, people have to focus. And at some point, they have to figure out what's in their enlightened self-interest. We are carrying the cudgel for lots of people around the world, but we also are requiring they must do their part. They must do their part in supporting NATO. They must do their part in securing their borders. They must do their part in cooperating against evil practices wherever they come from. That's the difference. People before were assuming that world leadership meant being the world's easy mark. We don't view it that way. We view world leadership as taking risks, taking strong positions, reasoned positions, and really pursuing them. That's the philosophical difference.
I'm glad to hear you say that about other countries, because it does seem to me and what you're saying is that part of the big picture playbook, in addition to tariffs with respect to China, is sticking up for our friends as well, and them sticking up for us, because China's just one country. And so to the extent that everybody else is pushing them the same way we're pushing them, in terms of leveling the playing field, that strengthens our hand as well.
Exactly.
Secretary Ross,
exactly. Well, look at Europe. We had this global steel forum, which was basically a talking society. Every quarter they would meet. Every quarter they would babble about this and that, and nothing happened. We put on the steel and aluminum tariffs, and all of a sudden, Europe started protecting its border. Japan introduced a system for the first time of policing their border and having trade enforcement. Those are things that are not visible. They don't necessarily make the headlines, but they do change the playing field.
But, Mr. Secretary, in taking on China, you could have brought the EU, Mexico, Canada, and Japan alongside you much more effectively than you have done.
I totally disagree with that. First of all, if you have three people on your side against one guy on the other side, you're going to waste half your time trying to get a consensus among three people in the room. It's too hard. We believe more in bilateral arrangements, because that's a one-on-one kind of a mano-a-mano arrangement. When you have multiple parties involved, everything gets diluted down to the lowest common denominator. That's one of the historical problems with these deals with multiple countries.
I like that stated as fact, though, instead of could you have done better if you had brought in. Can I ask
that
about?
That wasn't the question.
No.
Well, we'll never know, but we're doing very well.